Good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you might be, and welcome to another episode of the Backyard Sports Talk. I am Reid Jaco, and
I am Danny Jaco.
welcome to another week of Sports Talk, and this is not so much a busy week, but an exciting week, especially for me, because guess what, Dad?
What's that?
Baseball is back.
Baseball is back, and I'm excited about the UFL.
UFL is here as well, so we have some news to talk about with that and some interesting ideas that we might have for that. So first of all, we had opening day at MLB take place on Thursday. We had a couple of standout performances. The first of all was Kyle Stowers hits the MLB's first walk-off of 2025, which was very good. Good to see that come on opening day. We don't hardly see that come on opening day. It's usually the first weekend, but it's good to see that. Austin Wells makes history, not once, not twice, but 3 times. He ended up homering 3 different times for the New York Yankees.
What do you have? 4 bats, and 3 of them were home runs.
Yes.
Wonder what he did the other bat.
I don't know. I probably should have had that down, and probably should have had that put in there. But
I thought that's kind of interesting that 3 bats.
Yeah, for sure.
That's big.
That is big. Another standout performance from opening day was Mackenzie Gore, the young lefty from Washington, went 6 innings, 1 hit, 0 runs, 0 walks, and 13 strikeouts. That was very good, and he has struggled over the last several years, so it was good to see him have a good outing, especially on opening day.
Well, he was hitting, or he was on target that day.
For sure.
Could have made some people happy too.
For sure. When they first originally traded for him, he really had some difficult time to adjust to the new team and everything, because when he was originally he was in San Diego when he was moved to Washington in the Juan Soto trade, the original Juan Soto trade. So he had some adjustments to
Was that about
come
2
up.
years ago?
That was in 2022.
Oh, it's been longer.
It's been quite a while ago, yes. I was gonna look that up about that other at bat for Austin Wells. But the other one, interesting one was Cam Smith, who was originally drafted in 2024 and was traded to Houston in the Kyle Tucker trade back in December. He homered for his first MLB game. The way they did it, the other day on the one of the last days of the season, Joe Espada said that he made the announcement that he wanted to make a phone call, and he said that if he was getting called up, he wanted to call his parents, his significant other, and he ended up calling somebody, and ended up being Smith's parents. And Smith's parents walked into the clubhouse, into the locker room, and they ended up telling him that he was making the team.
Oh, that's cool. That's real cool.
That was really cool. So it's very unheard of to see a player, especially MLB, to get drafted and traded in the same year, and then the very next season to make the team and homer on opening day. So very excited about the career of Cam Smith, and I'm super excited for the fact that he is gonna play in Houston.
Well, that usually can be a 3 or 4 year deal too, though, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. Well, this is on the same kind of topic, but I was watching or listening to another podcast. I don't remember the name of it or where it was. But Bryce Harper was on it, and he said that if he was commissioner for a day, he would get rid of the high and low A baseball, and he would allow these kids to go to college, because sometimes these kids fight for their careers up until they're 30 years old, and by then they don't know what to do.
That's very true, yeah. That's true. But at that age, they're going to start college. They got families and everything else.
Right. And if you've already got a degree or some type of something by the time you're that old, you're that age, if you get rid of the high A, low A, or even if you have the high A, low A and still allow them to go to school.
Who'd you say said that?
Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper.
So I felt like that was very
That
respectable
was
because
very respectable.
not everybody's like Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, Cam Smith, who gets drafted and gets basically called up to the MLB within
Right.
the next year or
Not
two.
everybody plays like Bryce Harper either.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. So I don't have the current standings of that game, so I wanted to see that. But on opening day, guess who got a win? I mean, other than everybody else did.
The St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, they actually did get a win. So they're actually looking pretty good for this opening weekend. But the White Sox got a win after losing 121 games last year. They were above 500 for the first time in like 2 years.
Anybody ever? Is that the most games ever lost?
I believe so. There might have been they
That's one of
might
the worst I ever remember.
they may have set the record. If not, there was a record that might have been worse in like the 20s.
No, that's crazy. That's what's at 39 and 121.
Yeah,
That's the worst I ever remember of losing team.
right. It was pretty bad, but hey, they're back to 500 now. They're almost a midseason form.
They used to say it was almost as hard to lose 100 games in baseball as it was to win 100 games.
I can agree with that because, the term that I always like to use, and I've heard you use this too, a blind hog will find an acorn every now and then.
Yes, exactly. It sounds like last year they must have stayed home some games.
Yeah. So, yeah, your Cardinals are 2-0 right now. They ended up winning today and yesterday. Actually, Thursday and today. They didn't play yesterday. Not all teams played yesterday. Not all teams will play tomorrow, which is a weird schedule. Opening week is so weird.
Yeah, it always has been weird.
Yes, it always
It's trying to
it's
get
very
everybody going
strange.
there, right? But next week it'll stabilize out on it by the middle of the week or
Yes,
second half of the week.
yes. It'll get better.
Yeah, it
But
always does.
let me tell you, the Dodgers are 5-0 to start the season.
The Dodgers is going to be the best team in baseball.
If
They got
if
the
if they stay healthy though, they have to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing. I have
but they
slated
have
them
some
at
depth too,
first.
don't they? If they do get banged up some to a degree, don't they?
To a degree, they do have some depth, but I mean, at the same time, a lot of their depth guys is like Clayton Kershaw. He's like 80 years old, and with
That's an exaggeration, guys.
he's out there with duct tape and um super glue on his elbow and his shoulder.
Yeah. Okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but no, you are right. How old is he?
I'm wanting to say he's like 37 or 38.
I saw him somewhere on TV the other day. I don't remember what he was saying. I can't recall now, but I did see him here just within recent days.
But hey, our old buddy Ichiro threw out the first pitch of the Seattle Mariners game on Thursday, so good to see him back in the ballpark. It was a travesty to see him retire back in 2019 because he originally retired in 2018, but then in 2019 the Mariners were scheduled to go overseas to Japan and have that Japan series just like the Dodgers and Cubs did this year. So the Mariners brought him back for 2 games in 2019 and he ended up retiring with the Mariners in Japan.
At least his name's still out there. You have to go out, participate in the first, thought opening pitch and all that. That's always cool.
Well, he is now a going to be a Hall of Famer, going to be elected into the Hall of Fame this summer, which is very exciting. He is well deserved. Um, I'm super excited for that. He's always intrigued me. And quick little story about him. So one day he was with I think he was still with the Yankees at this time, but he gets this phone call and he just kind of ignores it and goes on. And later on, he goes, "Who the F is Tom Brady?" to some of these guys.
When was it? How long ago was this?
Well, this has been years ago.
Years ago.
And this is when he was still with the Yankees, so this is probably, 8 or 10 years ago. So people are like, well, he's like a really good quarterback for the, you know, New England Patriots. And like, why in the world would he be calling me? Come to find out, since um Ichiro was he played baseball up until he was in his mid 40s. Brady wanted to know his workout routines and his eating habits to be able to play that long.
You telling me that he didn't know who Brady was?
He's from Japan.
Well, that's true. I get it.
He didn't speak a lick of English. He still don't speak of a lick of English.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I would have just thought he would have been heard of.
But here's the thing, though, is the NFL is not that popular outside of the United States.
It is in Europe.
Well, it is in Europe, but if
UK places
but
like that.
but if you go to Asia,
Well, yeah,
they don't care about the NFL like we do.
that's true. They're more into that. If they're going to watch American sports, it's probably baseball, isn't it?
Right. You know, they
Or
have
wrestling.
rugby, cricket, and stuff like that. So they don't care. Soccer,
Wrestling.
that's their football.
Wrestling's big in Japan too.
Right. But they don't really care about the American football at all.
I guess I never had thought about that. That makes sense. I mean, American football is big in a lot of European countries and stuff. I mean, it's huge in the UK and Germany, Italy, several places like that. It's big.
I bet if I named the bet one of the best players in Japan, you wouldn't know his name.
Probably not.
So you got to think of it like that.
That's true.
I
Okay,
mean,
I stand to be corrected.
you be like that, and you know I don't he's only here like 6 or 8 months out of the year. Goes back to his own country and Japan, and then comes back for spring training. So
So, did you ever talk to Tom Brady?
I'm wanting to say he probably did. I'm not for sure, but that was just a cool little story that I've always kind of heard,
That is cool.
and I didn't know if you ever heard that
No,
before.
I'd never ever heard that.
But moving on now. But have you ever heard this name, Cameron Meisner?
Cameron Meister. Cameron, no.
All right. So interesting fact, he is from Poplar Bluff.
Really? I see that. Probably graduate, played at Mizzou.
So originally he was drafted by the Kansas City Royals in 2016, but then he elected to go to Mizzou and play. And then years later, I think in 2018 or 2019, he was drafted by the Miami Marlins and played in their minor league system, and then ended up being traded to the Tampa Bay Rays.
Hmm. I
So
never heard of him before.
anyway, he come up last year for a short amount of time, and I think he ended up coming up last year for a short amount of time. Anyway, he hit his first walk-off home run in his first home run this I believe it was Friday night, because I was coaching, and I just looked at my phone, and I remember telling one of my other colleagues there, hey, Cameron Meisner hit his first home run. So,
Have you heard of him though?
oh yeah, I've been following him for years. Because I remember the night he got drafted, because they had a big draft party down at Buffalo Wild Wings
Okay.
at Poplar Bluff.
Well, that's exciting. I'm glad to see him. Congratulations on his first MLB home run.
And not only that, it was a walk-off, so that was pretty exciting there. All right, so moving on, pretty exciting news there, but the New York Yankees new bats, which I think is going to cause some rule changes in the league. The New York Yankees are essentially moving the barrel down a few inches. And basically what they've done is move the sweet spot of the bat down. Because you see the barrel, it's usually towards the end of the bat. Now that they've kind of moved it down a few inches to where you're swinging at the sweet spot. Maybe if you're getting jammed a little bit, like for example, Anthony Volpe, who got jammed quite a bit, you moved his barrel down. He's not getting jammed as much.
So now, that being said, that's not a Yankees thing? That's a league thing, ain't it? And Yankees are trying it out.
No, see, that's not really a league thing or anything. So it initially become a thing when Cody Bellinger had this bat in spring training, because he was, it had kind of like a flat barrel. So then all these other Yankee players started to try it out. And, well, it looks like it's working.
Well, that's interesting. I thought the way I understood it was just a league thing, and the Yankees had been chosen to play with them. I didn't know.
No, no, it's not just a particular, league thing. It's just the bat company. I mean, truthfully, it's a legal bat, but I think the MLB is going to eventually ban it just because you're getting way too much of an edge,
Mm-hmm. Well, right now it's interesting to see how it all turns out with it. Anyway,
for sure. But they ended up scoring 20 runs in
think that bat had
Sa
much to do
in
with it.
Saturday. Well, yeah, they hit like 5 or 6 home runs, so I think that has a lot to do with it. And as we were doing this, I wanted to point out that the Dodgers had started 4-0, but as we are recording this, they finished their game here on Saturday night, and the Dodgers ended up finishing their game, and they move on to 5-0.
Yeah, like I said, they're a good team. They're probably right now the best team in baseball. Before any injuries start happening and all that. I figured they have quite a bit of depth. I don't know, but right now they're. It's not. I'd hate to be going to LA to play them right now.
For sure, for sure. No major big news that I can point out other than Kyle Tucker did get his first Chicago Cub home run today. Um, so first of many that he will have in Chicago blue, which will probably end up being his first and only season in Chicago because I don't see him getting probably nearly $800 million this offseason. So that's going to be a huge contract that I would think that he would get. I know I'm a Houston fan, so I wanted to point out to all my Houston haters, because I know there's a bunch of them. Our starting pitching has been fabulous starting out. We have struggled a little bit, and especially the game number two. We are 2-1 to start the season over the Mets. We won the series over the Mets. We have an off day tomorrow, and then we will play starting Monday against the Giants. We will have the return of Mr. John or Justin Verlander. I don't know why I said John, but
Already returned.
Justin Verlander. Super excited about that. Busy week for baseball. Baseball is back in action. Um, Nolan Arenado seems to be having a pretty good season so far, even though, I mean, yes, the season just started. We're 2 games in, but he had a pretty good weekend so far. We're looking forward to that. For you St. Louis Cardinal fans, and we will see how that drama goes. If he ends up having a good season and the Cardinals end up having a sour season, we could possibly see a deadline trade. So now we're gonna flash forward to some NFL news. Dad, you want to kick us off
I
with
want to say I
some?
want to say one thing about the Cardinals. If if they don't make some change, things don't change this year for them. They've got to really take a hard look at themselves and figure out what they're gonna have to take some deep core changes within the team to get them back on the the winning. It's not. They've been down too long.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
So it's time, if maybe this year things will start changing for them, but if it don't, they've got to do some deep changing.
Well, this is Mazalok's last year, and Bloom was going to take over at the end of the season, so maybe there'll be some changes.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, on to NFL.
All right, you want to kick us off with
Sure.
the big Ravens news this week?
Yeah, the Ravens have reached a 3-year extension with head coach Jim Harbaugh, which was
John.
I'm sorry, I say John Harbaugh, which was obviously that was going to happen. I kind of figured it was going to be 4 or 5 years, but hey, that's definitely the right choice. He's probably the winningest coach in that franchise history by now, I would think.
I would think so by now.
And also another shocker was your previous wide receiver Stephon Diggs, formerly from Buffalo Bills, has an new opportunity with the New England Patriots. 3 years,
3 years, 69 million. I assume that's all guaranteed. I have not seen anything to where that there would be anything that would be non-guaranteed. He says he is very excited and vows to be productive with quarterback Drake May. So I am super excited to see them two get out there. And I know you, Dad, being a pretty big New England fan, you're kind of excited to see that team kind of get back to relevance next year.
Yeah, and Stephon Diggs is kind of home in a sense. The AFC East.
Yes.
I mean, spending all that time in Buffalo. Now, he's back there in New England, so it's kind of home to him up there. So I think it'll be a good marriage. I'm excited. Drake May's going. I think he'll have a big season, and I think Stephon will be a big part of that season for sure. And they've got him where he's got a little bit of comfort there. He's there for 3 years, so he's committed to it. So it's all a good move.
Initially, I think we had said that the Patriots would probably go 9-8, or at least I said. I think with that accusation alone, I think we're gonna see them go 10-7.
Maybe, maybe. I think if they win 7 or 8 games, they've come a long ways.
If they win anything more than they did last year, it's an improvement.
Right. I mean, two consecutive 4-13 seasons.
If they win 5 games,
Right.
it's a look of it's definitely better than last
But
year.
I definitely think 7 or 8 games would be a big improvement for them, and give Vrabel some comfort, some praise.
For sure. For sure. I seriously think that they've definitely got a bright future. And I think that if they have a good draft, that a 10-7 record next year isn't too far-fetched.
No, I don't think it is either, and I think that Vrabel will be successful. He's the most Belichick-like probably that you could find right now, and that
Well, with Josh McDaniels back, that's huge.
Josh is back. That's a big deal. So, yeah, I'm not going to say they're going to be in the playoffs this year, but I say within a couple of years he'll have them in the playoffs probably.
So you totally forgot about the UFL, didn't you? After I told you about it on like Wednesday or Thursday.
I hadn't totally forgotten it. I just said, well, I had kind of, yeah.
You did.
But I'm glad we found it this afternoon. I enjoyed what we watched of it.
Right.
Let me before we start in this, let me say this. I was very impressed with the play that we watched on 2 games. It was very much NFL like in so many ways, not sloppy like sometimes you've seen in the past. And it was more NFL way. I'm not saying it was as quite as smooth as NFL, but I was impressed with it. It was very much keep me very interested.
For sure. I'm definitely interested in moving forward. The UFL opening weekend started this week. It started Friday night with St. Louis at Houston. St. Louis winning that game 31-6. And then Saturday's game was Arlington at San Antonio. Or it was actually San Antonio at Arlington, rather. Was a 33-9 game. Arlington over San Antonio. And then on Sunday we have 2 games. It is Michigan and Memphis at noon and 3. So I'm sure you will be tuning in for, if not one, probably both of
I'd like to
those.
watch both of them, especially the Memphis game. I'd really like to watch it.
I'm like you, I'm super excited about it. We are going to go to a game in the end of April. So I was really excited about the play, and it looks like St. Louis is going to be pretty good, which is going to be good for us. But we were also watching a YouTube video, and it's obvious that St. Louis is a good location for a potential expansion for the NFL with the average attendance. What was it, like 35,000 for
Yeah,
UFL games?
yeah, they're way ahead of any other city, in the UFL, being productive and putting people, in seats. And I think that right there should show the NFL. If you can put 30,000 plus people in a UFL game, we can do it in an NFL
You
game.
should easily be able to put 60,000 fans for an NFL game.
Exactly. So I think it's going to be very interesting. Talking about the UFL, kind of ironic, we were talking about this, you and I were, during the game. And just right after that, we watched YouTube?
YouTube.
And they come on there and said that, right now their plans is to expand, to have 4 more teams expansions of four more teams by 2027. And I was saying if they could do it within the first 10 years. So if they, we got to hope that there's a season two first.
Well, this is season two. So there was a season last year.
Oh, there
That
was.
was the initial season.
Okay.
That was the inaugural UFL season. And then this is season two.
Okay. Well, I mean, if they can have 12 teams in the next 2 years, is that what it would be?
Yes,
That, you start getting up to 12 teams, that's pretty decent. You can maybe get some interest in to where it's going to stay around.
for sure. Because I think, like you said, once you get to a point where maybe you could start selling franchises,
Right.
I think it's a lot easier to stick around.
And I think if you can get 12 teams and you're still here in 27, I think that you'll definitely, at some point get it if you get it up to a 16 game league, 16 different 16 team league. I think it survived.
I can agree with that. So the cities and areas that we were discussing and that also the video had discussed is Orlando, Louisville, the Bay Area, either San Francisco or Oakland, either one, just because Oakland had lost their football team and their baseball team just this year. We say, well, you still have the 49ers out there, NFL and San Francisco, but maybe you put a XF or a UFL team in Oakland, and then maybe San Diego. They lost the Chargers, and then possibly a team or a city that has never really seen professional sports besides the NBA is Portland.
Yeah, I think Portland could be a functioning. I think an NFL team would work in Portland as far as that goes.
Well, I mean, you also got to think about the weather. But again, there is one in Seattle, so I mean, the weather would be all right, I guess. Because I mean, I sit here and think about the weather, but I mean, it's the weather. The weather don't play as much of a factor for NFL as it does the MLB. Because when I think of that, because like the Mariners, I don't think they'd be able to survive up in Seattle without the
Well,
roof.
the Seattle has a dome, don't they?
Yes.
So I thought, and if anything ever happened, we're just totally speculating here. If anything ever happened like that with Portland, where an NFL team went there, I'm sure it would probably be a dome proposed to build a dome.
Probably.
But anyway, we're talking about the UFL, and I was very excited today. I really enjoyed what I watched of it, and really excited about St. Louis. There seemed to be a strong. They've always been kind of strong, though, haven't they?
Even in 20, right before the pandemic, they
Yes,
were really
they were
strong.
strong. So anyway, you know, it'd be fun to watch how this goes. And if anybody gets a chance tomorrow to watch a game at noon or 3 o'clock, or is it 3:30?
Noon and 3.
Noon and three, I would certainly throw it on and watch a little bit of it because I think it was I enjoyed it. It was pretty smooth.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I I will say that, you know, well, we'll have to dig back into it because it's been several years since I've watched it, but the rules are a little differently than they are in the NFL. But, I think there's like no onside kicks. And I think there's an opportunity for a 3-point conversion.
The 1, 2, and 3
Yes.
kick, a regular 2 point conversion, and then a 3 point. You say
And then
from
a
the 10.
3-point conversion from the 10-yard line, I think. Like I said, there's some differences. I'm gonna have to dig back into it.
I kind of like that 3 point. That's kind of.
I like the difference in the rules just because I mean if it was the exact same mirrored league, there would really be no differences.
And I think having, let me botch his name up here, Mike Pierre, and ain't Pierre, how do I say that? From Fox,
I don't.
former head official of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I like hearing him talk about it a little bit because he's got a lot of insight. He knows there's nobody that
Right.
knows NFL rules any better than him.
Absolutely.
And having him here to discuss his thoughts on, I think that's definitely a good thing.
That league will have a lot of potential. So, my thing is if you could get, say, like maybe two teams next year, say like an Orlando or a Louisville or, somewhere like that. I think you continue to stay in the Midwest and slowly start working to the West Coast. By that time, you could possibly start selling franchises, but still owning the initial Fox Corporation and the uh, the organization of Danny Garcia and Dwayne the Rock Johnson organization still have a part ownership in those franchises.
And I think it can definitely progress and make money. But I think to getting it up to a 16 team league will really help it a lot if they can get to that
Right.
point.
Because here's my envisions. If you could have this in a perfect world, you could have this league go on, art say from now or whatever, and you could do your championship Memorial Day weekend.
Right, right. Have their Super Bowl, their version. What are they going to call their championship?
I think they just called it the UFL Championship last year. I can take a look at that though, because I believe not San Diego, San Antonio won it last year. Champions. Oh no, it was Birmingham. It was Birmingham over San Antonio, and it was played at St. Louis, and it was in June 17th or June 16th, and it don't have a name, I don't think. It just said UFL championship game. So there really wasn't a actual name for it.
They need to come up with a name, a flashy name for the.
Yeah, I think a cool flashy name would be good, but I think maybe you started a little earlier this season, a little earlier instead of the end of March.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe at the beginning of March, and then get that, allow for that time, and then you have your championship at the end of May, that Memorial Day weekend, that long weekend where kids are out of school. That's their first real weekend out of school for summer break. Everybody's out of work on Monday. You've got an opportunity to go to that game. I think that's the way you're going to sell tickets.
I think you need to start it immediately after the NFL season, so nobody gets out of super or gets out of football mode.
Well, yeah, but then I mean,
Why not have your first game? Why not have your opening season that weekend that there's no football between the Chicago First Championship and the Super Bowl? That'd be your kickoff weekend.
yeah, but it's labeled spring football though.
Still going to be spring football. It's going to be starting in February.
Yeah, but I say you stay completely away from February and you start in March.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it needs to be earlier than it is this year.
I still think,
But I still like getting people before they're totally out of football
yeah,
mode.
I still think if you start at the beginning of March and then go until say Memorial Day weekend, I think would be perfect. Let me see if I could pull up.
Do they have any preseason games?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I don't know. I haven't heard
The
any.
NFL's going to, I know I'm kind of jumping there, but they're going to go up to an 18 game season, aren't they?
Well, no, they've talked about. Is that official?
I don't think it's official, but I think what I heard it's unofficially going to happen. Let's put it that way, the way I understood it.
Right.
That's a lot of stress on players.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long, grueling season anyway. Adding another game to it. I don't know.
It's definitely interesting. All right, so here's so week one of the UFL started obviously this weekend, which was on February 28th, and then they will go until week 10, which
February 28th, I mean March 28th.
March 28th, yeah. Well, I said February. I was looking at February, but it said March.
I think it should have started at least 3 weeks earlier.
Right. I think it should have started towards the beginning, but then they will go until Memorial Day weekend area.
How many regular season games are there?
There is
10?
10.
Well, I thought.
And it looks like there's like no buys or anything.
Do I need to carry on here? Looks like it's somebody.
No, I'm fine. It was alarm to take my night medicine. Whoops,
Okay.
my bad. Anyway, and then they will finish up with their regular season on Sunday, June the 1st. And then semifinals will be the next weekend, June 8th, and then the championship will be June 14th.
It's getting right in there, right up into preseason. See, when does training camp start? End of June?
Yeah, pretty close.
That's what I thought. So right in there. Well, anyway, like I said, I don't want to beat it to death here, but I do think that I like what I've seen. I like that they're taking a proactive approach to it and looking to the future to try to do something. And I hope it works out for them because I can't never get too much football. I'm ready for it.
And I mean, I've grown so much as a football fan the last 3 years. It's amazing because I mean, I feel, just as pretty much, not more confident because I feel like I know baseball really well, but I think I would put myself up against some of the best football, when it comes knowledge, when it comes to rules and plays and stuff now more than I ever have.
Oh yeah, I would agree with you on that. The only caveat I want to throw and I don't want to be the negative Nelly here, but I have hopes for the UFL. But I've seen so many times in my lifetime people coming in, teams coming in, trying to start an expansion, a new league, and it not work, and it's failed several times. So I hope this is not one. I remember we had one called the most successful one was probably the Arena League they had for a while. It maybe lasted longer than
Right.
any of them did.
The probably the biggest player to come out of that was Kurt.
Yeah, Kurt Warner come out of that, yes. But anyway, again, like I said, I hope this works. I feel I have right now probably have better hopes of it than I have any others in the past. Fox is 50% owner, so they got deep pockets too. So just see where it all goes there. And just, I wish them the very best.
All right, so I want to tell a quick story. So moving on now. So I have not had internet at my um place where I've been staying for probably the last 2 weeks. And in return of that, I've been so disconnected from WWE, it's insane.
And that is as a result of a severe storm that hit me.
Yes, we had a tornado, and 2 miles south of the place I stay, it hit and destroyed
Several homes.
a lot of stuff and dropped our phone lines, and we lost our internet service for probably nearly 2 weeks.
Is it back now?
It is finally back. We got it back late this week. So I have been disconnected from WWE. So I have not had a chance to watch much, and I have not a chance to do a whole lot. But here's some of the stuff that I have got for you. So the Judgment Day interfered with the Intercontinental title bout between Braun Breaker and Pinta and viciously assaulted both superstars. Plus, the undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes and John Cena collided in another explosive verbal confrontation. CM Punk addresses Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Women's World Champion Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley engaged in a brawl, and so much more happened on. This was Raw on Monday, and this is what I got off the WWE website, so thank you for that. And then on Friday Night SmackDown, um, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins ended up signing the contracts to officially announce that they will have their match on night one, and it will be the main event. Another announcement that we had within the last couple of weeks was Randy Orton and Kevin Owens will also be the night one of WrestleMania. And on down to night two was in Cody Rhodes and John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship will be night two.
I'm really, I'll be honest with you, I'm excited about the Randy Orton and Kevin Owens matches, and they're all good. But that's one I'm really excited for. I'm really excited to see that because if Randy stays healthy, and I think he is now, I think it'll be good.
That anytime you have Randy Orton fully healthy and you have Kevin Owens fully healthy, it's gonna be brutal.
There's nobody more believable the way he wrestles than Randy Orton.
Oh,
His
absolutely.
his wrestling is the most believable of anybody in WWE, anybody in wrestling right now. And his intensity, everything else, he's a good on the microphone. He's from St. Louis, so I mean, no, I'm all about that. I'm excited about the others, but I'm really excited about that too.
Yes, I'm super excited about that. I'm looking forward to, WrestleMania in general because I think it's going to be a huge show. And I tell you what, I'm excited about Backlash coming up since, we are going to be in attendance. I'm
Absolutely.
super excited about that. Never been to a professional wrestling show, so I'm excited about that.
Maybe we'll have to record a clip from it.
That's kind of how I was thinking. So we are on TikTok. So I thought about maybe we get there, we shoot some TikTok content
That's what I was thinking. Be good.
from there, promoting our, I feel like before we go, we need to have some like shirts with our podcast name put on
It
it.
would be
I feel like that
backyard sports.
I feel like that would be, in a way kind,
But we have a family member that could probably fix us up
yeah.
on that.
I mean, I want to say maybe cringy, but not really because I mean, it's promoting.
No, yeah, no, that'd be crazy.
Although I kind of want to wear my Dead Man shirt,
Yeah, that
my
would be
my
good.
my Undertaker
And I
shirt.
got one to wear. No, mine's the Texans. Never mind, it ain't.
Well, you do have that WCW shirt that I
Oh,
bought you.
that's what I'll wear. That WCW shirt. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So, no, we can figure out something to do there. We could definitely make some type of content there that we could promote or something. So it's definitely gonna be a good time. And we could definitely do something there at the dome when we go for the UFL game.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Those are both going to be very fun events. I'm looking forward to.
Now we'll have a good time this summer. We're gonna try to make some events and stuff, so that's gonna be fun for that. But a little bit shorter of a podcast this week. You know, we've been busy, like I said, with me because of the storm damage that went on in the previous weeks. I've kind of been out with internet. I ended up using all of my hotspot data and ended up having to purchase like 5 gigabytes more to get by,
What that cost you?
like $10.
Plus, your baseball season is started. That's taking up more of your
Yes,
time.
we end up having we're supposed to have 4 games this week, but we also have another round of storms moving in
And I'm a little bit behind on
the
watching
30th.
the wrestling stuff because of this thing, this called the JOB, kind of messes with me too. So
When was the last time you worked though? What, Tuesday?
Thursday,
Oh, you worked Thursday?
Wednesday,
Oh, you
actually.
worked Wednesday.
Yeah,
Oh,
Wednesday was last. I took a few days off.
well,
Don't judge me.
I'm gonna try to get back into wrestling, watch Raw on
Yes.
Monday, and then, try to get back into all my sports watching this week in between all of my coaching that I got going on. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to everything we've got going on. Looking forward to watching some UFL tomorrow. Um, you want to go ahead and if I can get this edited, go ahead and release this tomorrow.
Sure, do it.
All right, we'll go ahead and release this
Yep,
tomorrow.
we're gonna do
So
it tomorrow.
we'll release it today early. So there we go. There we go on that.
Sounds good.
So, well, you have anything else?
I think that's everything, Hank. We caught everybody up on all the news for the week, at least all the baseball, football, and wrestling news for the week.
Yeah. I know we don't really do it, but the NCAA basketball March Madness is in full swing.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 um games going on. My team is still alive in the Elite Eight, the Houston Cougars, University of Houston. So good luck to all the teams that are still out there. And, if you're listening to this on Sunday and you are awaiting a storm. We hope and pray that you are safe from that, and we will catch you on the flip side. And have a good week and try to watch as much sports as you can.
All right. Well, same thing. Watch the sports and be ready to follow along with us next week. Talk to you later, guys.